Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of the show. Call us at 800-966 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I was really just trying to go 3 innings, and then once I got to 3, I tried to go to 4 and then 5, and then get some hitters out.
They did an outstanding job of executing 3-2 count pitches, getting leadoff outs. Defensively, they were really, really good. They didn't give us a lot of opportunities.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a rainy Monday all over the state of South Carolina, but most importantly in the state. It's raining hard in Columbia, has been all day. So no baseball at Founders Park tonight. USC and UNCW, they will live to play another day, and that will be tomorrow. Still waiting on official game time. K-Mac said he saw something about 7 o'clock, but there's been nothing official from official sources on that. So we wait and see what time they decide. Of course, ESPN will largely determine what time the Gamecocks and the Seahawks play tomorrow night to settle that regional. Meantime, Coastal Carolina was an 8-1 loser to NC State this afternoon in Raleigh. They are just getting underway with the decisive game in that regional. So the Chanticleers trying to pull one out on the road against an NC State team that, fought its way back, and now it's winner take all, just like with South Carolina, guys. We've seen a number of the lower seeded teams, or your number one teams, higher seeded, lower seeded, however you want to look at it, fall behind in their regionals and try and fight their way back. Vanderbilt couldn't do it. One of those to go by the wayside, and others. Ole Miss couldn't do it. Yeah, it's been a wild and crazy baseball tournament so far.
Always is. I mean, that's May/June. It can get a little goofy, and you can be really hot. Clemson was one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the country, and they scored 24 on Friday night. And then what do they scratch out 2 their next game? They would have loved to have been able to carry some of those over. In South Carolina, they can't do anything against Rhode Island in the latter innings, and they let that one get away, and everybody jumped off the ship. Hardly anybody showed up Saturday. The Gamecocks eked one out against Duke, but then they go out on Sunday and they put 30-plus runs on the board.
Yeah.
It goes by the old cliche, is your momentum is as strong as that next guy standing on the bump.
Well, that's the question. What will South Carolina and Wilmington have in the tank pitching-wise tomorrow night? Certainly nobody on either coaching staff is complaining about the rainout today. It gives everybody a chance to rest those pitchers and maybe even slide somebody in there who's, I think Wilmington was already going to start their Friday night guy, right?
Yeah, on 2 days rest. Guy that threw a complete game against Duke on Friday.
112 pitches?
Yeah, senior and apparently not going pro. And everybody knows their arm, right? South Carolina fans are criticizing everybody. Aaron Rawls started on a Friday and then started on a Monday in a regional before. It's happened. It's not unprecedented.
All right, we'll update the scoreboard. There are other games going on. Look forward to hearing from you. We'll hear from the coaches as well. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network all together tonight in our studios in downtown Columbia, Main Street, because we are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Plenty to talk about from over the weekend and today. It was Kurt Busch winning the rain-delayed race at Pocono. Let you hear a little bit from him. We'll hear from Clemson. Their season is over after losing to a very good Oklahoma State team, which awaits the winner of South Carolina and Wilmington. In all likelihood, not guaranteed, but pretty much so, I think, if USC beats Wilmington tomorrow, then they'll host the Super Regional. There is a process for determining the Super Regional site when the top 8 seed for a Super Regional is eliminated. The committee meets by conference call. There was a bidding process as part of the bidding process. Overall, there was a bidding process. Part of that was for the Super Regional. But I don't think there's any way that South Carolina would not host the Super if they win against Wilmington. Oklahoma State, they were saying last night they might just hang around the state of South Carolina waiting to play in Columbia versus going back to Stillwater and then turning around and coming back to South Carolina. So Bonnie Lee and a couple of the Tigers, they just couldn't hit Oklahoma. They did a terrific job. Monty said that was as good at pitching against them all season, keeping the ball off the plate. Western Carolina could take lessons from Oklahoma State on how to pitch to Clemson. They sure don't know how. They gave up 12 home runs to the Tigers in their 2 games and a bushel of runs. But Oklahoma State is a different cat, to say the least, a traditional baseball power. They proved it. They have speed at the top of their lineup. They have good pitching depth. They're an older team, and they can hit as well. So if South Carolina does win tomorrow and get Oklahoma State, it is by no means a cinch that they will beat the Cowboys. Plus, they're not going to be fazed about coming to Columbia and having to play in a Super Regional after going through Clemson.
No. I mean, it's never a cinch in the Super Regionals. But for South Carolina to go from losing their Friday night opener against Rhode Island and the way they lost that, they had a big, comfortable lead, a 4-run lead in that one, and they lost 5-4 to fighting of hosting. That's a big turn of events for a team that had lost 3 in a row, counting what happened in Hoover. And again, that all the energy got sucked out of that stadium in the 3rd, 4th inning Friday night, and it didn't come back until about the time Jonah Bride plowed into the catcher on Sunday against Rhode Island, and that woke everybody up. It woke the Gamecocks up. It woke the crowd up. And from that point on, they've really just kind of been on a roll. Yeah,
you had an ejection too. You had Holbrook getting ejected on that was Friday night, right?
And that gave them a little bit of a boost at one point, but it didn't work. Obviously, the Gamecocks didn't scratch another run. They still ended up losing, but he wanted to make a point, and he was still making that point on Saturday when he sent Esposito out to hand the lineups to the umpires because he still apparently didn't want to talk to him even the next day after that. But you knew that was coming when Widener threw a ball, a close ball strike call, and Holbrook ran out to the mound and just stood there and just waited for the umpire to come up there. And right when he got there, he just laid into him, did the little dirt on the plate, and got out. He didn't go Elliott Avent. He got suspended an extra game for it.
Right. Today, Elliott Avent, the coach at NC State, went a little crazy in the game against Coastal Carolina. The State won 8-1. They're going to play. They should be underway by
here.
I just checked. It's not. They're not up. Running it.
They might be getting the stuff that we're getting.
It was a 6 o'clock scheduled start time. In the first game, NC State relief pitcher Will Gilbert, he came in the 2nd inning and worked the final 8 innings, allowing just 5 hits and 1 run. He struck out 9. And so he pretty much shut down the Coastal Bats, and they'll play tonight at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Delayed.
Is it raining in Raleigh? Does it say?
Delayed. Yeah, they are delayed.
Well, one of the things I've been noticing here is that if pitchers are willing to see where batters are, you could see when batters are over aggressive, you expand the strike zone. And we've seen a lot of batters swing at pitches outside the strike zone because they made up their minds right then and there they're going to swing. And as you said, Western Carolina just throwing them, splitting the plate instead of expanding the strike zone. Oklahoma State does just the opposite. Okay, fine. Y'all want to swing? swing.
It's an entirely, different level of talent at Oklahoma State versus Western. And of course, look, Oklahoma State, they shut out Nebraska 6-0. They played 3 games at the Clemson Regional. They beat Nebraska 6-0. They beat Clemson 12-2, and they beat Clemson 9-2. That's just complete domination on foreign turf. So they proved their mettle.
Well, that was a tough and I thought when I saw that bracket come out, I said, man, Oklahoma State, that's
right.
a traditional baseball school. They've had some really good teams there in the Big 12. That was not an easy regional for Clemson at all.
And yesterday, I don't know. Look, you can't criticize people for being cautious with weather and things of that nature. My goodness.
But you're about to.
Well, it just turned out to be
So
a
yes,
bad
you
call.
Can. You actually can criticize.
And it was pretty, you could see pretty early on it was going to be a bad call. The temperatures were cool. It wasn't hot enough to where it was going to create thunderstorms like you get when it's 90 degrees plus. In the low 80s. It was overcast the whole time, but except for a brief sprinkle, it never rained. There was no lightning, nothing. And they wasted 5 hours of good time. They could have gotten that first game in. Clemson could have had more time to gather itself up after that game and then play Oklahoma State at 7 o'clock versus having 55 minutes between games in the evening. And everybody was worn out and the fans were worn out. It was that's a tough deal. Again, you err on the side of caution. Their release said, everything pointed towards a big storm. And their rationale was they didn't want to start a game, go 2 or 3 innings, it start to rain, you have to stop the game, and then you lose your pitchers.
Yeah.
Neither coach wanted to go that route, et cetera, et cetera.
But you just never – the thing about these storms, as we know, it can look like it's going to hit you and look like it's going to hit you and then move right around you. And in Columbia yesterday, I was convinced when I went to the ballpark. I was like, maybe they'll get this first one in. I didn't think there was much of a chance that the second one would get in and not be delayed if they got it in at all. And the first game, no problems. The second game, it was all around. It was storming in Orangeburg. It was storming in Chapin, White Rock. It was storming in Kershaw. It was storming at Williams-Brice Stadium at one point. It started raining a little bit. There was lightning within 15 miles at one point. It never hit the stadium. You kind of just got to go out there and ride it out and see what's going to happen because you don't know. You really don't know.
And if you're Clemson, maybe you're still thinking about Mother Nature. We took a gamble doing that Notre Dame football game during the flood.
Well, the same thing happened at Doug Kingsmore. I'm telling you, everything that was coming in from Atlanta, and it was raining in Atlanta, but it went around Clemson. It went around the stadium. Nothing came over the stadium. Nothing dropped, and we ended up wasting 5 hours of good baseball time. And the ironic thing is it was the best weather of the weekend. It was overcast, it was cool, and there was a light breeze. It would have been a perfect setting for the fans to sit in the stands and enjoy a baseball game. But they made that decision. All right, baseball today. Texas Tech beat Dallas Baptist 5-3. So I believe I haven't kept up entirely with these others. Is that a clincher for Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Arizona beat Lafayette 6-3. Is that a clincher?
Yeah, I think Arizona had a guy throw about 200 pitches this weekend.
Oh, good.
It's that time of the year.
His arm will be a little bit longer. No, I'm wrong. They play again. They'll have a decisive game at 8 o'clock tonight. That was not a clincher. They played at 8. Santa Barbara is hammering Xavier 13-5. That's in the top of the 9th. And Rice the same to Southeastern Louisiana. People running out of pitching now. 13-0 in that one in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Santa Barbara gets a date at Louisville for the Super Regional.
Good luck with that. Okay, we'll hit a break. We'll take some phone calls. If you were at the regionals, watching on television, share your thoughts. Clemson Regional, Gamecock Regional. If you're a Coastal fan, what do you think about your team's chances tonight? 800-956-7266. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Love to hear from you. 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, at SportsTalkSC. Twitter timelines have been exploding over the weekend, and we might check in on some of your comments there. Let's go to the phones. James in Columbia. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, doing great, guys. Love your show. Hey, I just want to start this show off. Want to give a huge shout out to Muhammad Ali. Hey, this guy meant so much to so many people. And one thing I love the show. This is a very powerful show. I just want you guys to kind of reflect, because I've been listening to a lot of programs and a few programs today. It's just some people out there, man, that's holding this bitter grudge against this guy. And I just wish people would understand that back in the 1960s, when he refused to go to Vietnam, the whole world was a different place back then. We didn't have equal rights. It's not like somebody who will be claiming now to say, you know, hey, I'm not going to fight no war because I'm not free in America. We're pretty much all free now, and things aren't perfect. But back then, 40, 50 years ago, it was totally different. So anybody out here knocking this guy for that, I mean, I just think you're silly. Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest humanitarians out there. Want to give him just a great shout out. Very sad that he died. And secondly, just minor to me today, there was an article down in Florida from the Bianchi fella. I want you guys to kind of address this too, where he says that Clemson and Florida State will be in the SEC. He says he guarantees they'll be in the SEC within the next 8 years. Love this show, guys. Just want to hang up and listen to get your reflection.
8 years. Why not 5 years or 9 years? That's a very specific number.
We're not through redesigning the geographic nature of college sports. To your first point, you're going to have to put me in the category of the silly, because as much as I loved Ali for everything he did in boxing and after his boxing career and everything he did from a humanitarian standpoint, I can't forget the fact that he refused to go into the military when he was called upon, as thousands of men and women were back in the day. But I just think everybody should serve. I think if I had been of age and I would have been drafted, and I just missed the draft by a couple of years, I would have served.
Why does he get that? But the thing is, he didn't dodge the draft. He didn't go to Canada. Believe in that war.
Well, nobody believed in it.
Well,
nobody
I mean,
believes
look, we have politicians that got
people.
deferments. These the rich kids that get their little.
Matter. We're talking about him.
Okay,
we're talking about him.
But why does he get judged by?
They can be blamed on their own merits.
Well,
here's the key.
But I think it took courage for him, to stand up for his principles, was willing to go to jail for it, changed his name to Muhammad Ali.
He didn't go to prison.
No, he won.
The Supreme Court on technicality dropped the charges, but he
never
went to prison.
He didn't cut and run. He didn't ask for some deferment. He didn't go to Canada.
He just refused.
He didn't have his daddy.
The law.
No,
what if everybody took that
he was categorized as a conscientious objector
himself? He characterized.
Oh no, this was on his list.
Well,
suddenly they changed his draft status. So all of a sudden, a 25-year-old guy, 25, 26.
Hang on, we got to hit a break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266 is the number. We were hitting the break there. We couldn't finish what we were talking about on a couple of fronts. Caller brought up the passing of Muhammad Ali. If you're not aware, he did pass away on Friday.
It's been
lightly covered by the media to this point. But no, I mean, I just think I think Muhammad Ali, everything about him, his professional life from his boxing days and forward, fantastic. But, I think he should have, like everybody else who was drafted, except for those who fought against going into the draft and going to Vietnam for whatever reason. Some went to Canada, some just took off and hid, whatever the case may be. I feel like you should respect your government and serve your nation, because the same nation that made him a millionaire many times over as he progressed through his career, the nation called upon him to serve. There could have been things, I don't know, things do get worked out for people, but the bottom line is, for me, it's bothersome that he is being lauded in so many ways, but that has just sort of been swept under the table.
I don't think so.
And I think what really bothers me too is that 3 presidents, George Bush gave him a medal of something, Obama likewise, and Clinton is going to be eulogizing him, and I think also, and these are commanders in chief of the armed forces. How can you look any young man in the eye when you reward somebody who refused to serve, but then you're going to send other men?
He was a black man in the 60s when black men were treated much differently in this country than they are now, fortunately, right? You not contest that fact.
I understand the civil rights issue. Yeah, yes, okay. I get that.
So if you are feeling like a second class,
so are you saying that they should have been omitted from the draft?
I didn't say, let me finish my point. Don't interrupt me. Okay, I'm going to make this point. You can either take it or not. But I can understand how somebody, if I'm living in a country where I'm treated poorly, where I can't use the same water fountain as somebody, where I'm segregated in a school, and then they say, oh, by the way, we're in this war over here fighting this other country that you've never heard of, never been to, and now you go over there and maybe die. So let me finish though. And he's saying, and what he said is, I don't have any problem with that country. Those people aren't the ones calling me the N-word. That's happening right here in this country that's trying to send me over there to die.
Right.
I get that. Now you can disagree with it, but it wasn't cowardice. Cowardice would have been running off to Canada or leaving. He didn't. He stood right there and fought. I mean, he fought his battle, and it wasn't that he wasn't brave, but he said, I believe in this. And it was to me in the 60s, a very valid point for a black man to stand up and be like, no, my own country, how many
thousands of black men,
because he would have been serving alongside white people that had a lot more rights
and went and served. How many thousands of black men felt the same way? We're also discriminated against in the 60s, but they went and served.
Because they didn't have a platform and a voice that Muhammad Ali had to win in court. Those guys would have been court-martialed and thrown in jail and treated like he was the one guy that had the platform and the bully pulpit that people would listen.
And that's why I think it's
just because he had the platform just because he had the platform and the bully pulpit does not make it right.
You don't think it's right to stand up?
He's an American citizen. Okay, so your life hasn't gone well. I get that, but you don't get the right to make that choice.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
If everybody can make that choice,
yes, you do.
Then we'd have nobody in the armed services.
Yes, you do.
How?
Here's the deal.
How can one man be allowed to do it and nobody else can?
Because here's a man who showed you what freedom is. Freedom is
fighting for your country.
Freedom is standing up for your principles.
Okay.
If those principles get you punished, get you put in jail, get you stripped of your title,
you can't have a country if everybody decides individually, I'm not going to follow the rules and the laws.
He made a statement. He made a
statement. That's freedom.
And that helped move the country.
Freedom.
He helped move the country forward.
So I want to drive 120 miles an hour down I-20.
For example.
No, it's not. It's a law.
So, but
the law of the 60s was that if you were drafted, you went and
you know what else was the law of the 60s? black people couldn't drink out of the same water fountain as you could.
That's correct.
Okay, so as a black man, do you understand a country
I'm
that
not-
made these systemic laws is now making this other law that you got to go fight a war in another country against people, a war that was very highly controversial, and as we know now, one of the great blunders in American history, Vietnam. And he said, I don't have a problem with those people. They're not the ones.
Who had a problem that was sent? Who had a problem in the?
Do you not
Which
understand?
soldier
He had a problem with
who
how
went over there had a problem with the Vietnamese? The people who went served their country because of loyalty to the United States.
But he wasn't he wasn't loyal to a government that was discriminated against him here. That was his point.
Then why didn't he leave the country when he had a chance?
Because he
when
wanted to
became
change
famous?
it. He didn't cut and run. That's
That's
why he is.
our
That's why
point.
he's being
But
lionized.
he didn't change anything.
You don't think
the draft,
Muhammad Ali changed things?
the draft continued for how many more years into the
do you see
70s?
how far we've come now?
Talking about civil
You don't
rights.
think he had a piece of that?
I'm not talking about civil
He
rights.
goes over
I'm
there and gets
talking
killed.
about the simple fact that he did not obey when he was drafted to go fight in Vietnam, while hundreds of thousands of others,
He didn't
men
go fight
and
for a
women,
government that
white
discriminated
and
against
black,
him.
Here's the deal.
followed the law and went. And many died.
Let's go.
Rosa
And I think-
Parks didn't follow the law and sat at a different part of the bus.
What?
Corn.
That has
Oh
nothing
my
to
God.
do with Muhammad Ali being a
It
draft
does.
dodger.
You don't
No.
get that. You
No,
don't
I
get
don't.
that.
I don't.
You know, he's not a draft dodger. A draft dodger is Ted Nugent, who went to Canada and hid. That's a draft
was
dodger.
Was he drafted?
He
Was he-
fought.
was
A
he
draft
drafted?
dodger leaves.
Was he
fought.
drafted? Was he drafted?
He was on the list.
Was he
Yeah,
drafted?
he was on the list.
Was he drafted by the United States Army? Was he drafted?
I don't know. Was it, I mean, where are? Yes. Okay.
Did he serve?
No.
Okay.
That doesn't make him a
That's my
draft
point.
dodger.
That's my point.
Was he discriminated
Why
against?
did my neighbor across the street?
A white man.
Yes, a
Okay.
very white
so
man.
you don't think there's a difference between a white man and a black man? in
Why
the 60s
did my
United
neighbor
States?
across the street be drafted and go immediately to the front lines of Vietnam and serve?
Do you not?
Why?
You don't understand the white.
That was his
black
choice.
element.
But here's
You don't
the-
get the fact.
Then why did the other black men in Louisville, there were others, right,
Okay.
who were drafted?
They didn't have
Why
a
did
voice
they
that
go
Muhammad
serve?
Ali had. They didn't have the
Doesn't
voice.
matter.
You don't. I mean,
Why
we
did
does
Jackie,
matter.
disagree.
why did
I mean,
Jackie Robinson serve in the military when he was drafted? You know, he served
I know.
in World War II.
I'm aware of that.
Why?
World War II. Maybe because
Why?
he didn't have a philosophy. Maybe because he believed in the cause.
Here's
I
the-
mean, you're.
there are total differences here. World War II, we had a cause.
Yeah.
We had a
Little
cause.
different war.
Now here's the point. Now people don't want me to get, and I'm going to put on my priestly robes for a minute.
Mhm.
Sometimes a higher power is at work here. Muhammad Ali was chosen to take a stand. Whether we like it or not, that was his stand. That was made, in my opinion, by a higher power. And look where he is today. and
Every
look how he
argument that is
today.
made, K-Mac, is not about race. Okay,
But
It
that's
was.
what-
That was.
I don't
about,
care if
this
Muhammad
was.
Ali was black or white.
No,
or
but this
whatever
was
color
about.
he
This was very much about race.
I don't
He
think it was about race.
refused-
I
He,
think
okay,
he
I really don't.
refused an order, and if everybody thought that way, we wouldn't have a country. We wouldn't have a country.
Mhm.
You either agree to follow the rules. You might not like them,
Okay.
but you either agree to follow them or you pay the consequences.
And that's what
And
he
he
And he
did.
did.
And
And
that's
he
what he
did.
did.
Right. I'm
And
not,
he did. So
I'm
what's
not
the
saying
problem?
the problem was, in my
That
opinion,
he
he should have served,
He
and
should-
I believe that is
So
a
you do
black
anything the
mark
government tells
on
you.
his
You do
resume.
anything the government tells you. Anything. No questions asked. That's what you're saying. Anything that the United States government tells you to do,
Uh-huh.
you do it. No questions asked. That's your stance.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything.
If they
Anything the
draft
government
me,
says.
if
Not just draft. Anything that the United States government.
If they tell me to pay taxes, I pay taxes.
Okay.
Yeah. If they give me a chance to vote, I vote.
Now, if they tell you
If they
that,
tell me to drive
if they tell you
70
that
miles an
only
hour, I drive
Catholics, if
70
they
miles
tell
an
you
hour.
only that Catholics can vote here, then you're okay with that. That's the law. That's the government. That's what they say.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, you don't think there's ever a point in time where you can rebel against the government and say, no, I don't believe in this, and this is why, and stand up to the government.
Well, sure, yeah.
Okay,
And you
so-
can, and
that's
you
what he
pay-
did.
And if you break the law, you pay a price,
He-
and you leave yourself open for criticism.
Okay.
And I just don't believe he was the perfect person because I believe he should
And
have served.
you
in the
also
army.
opened yourself up for being lionized because he took a stand. It was
More
about
impressed than
peace.
what he did in the
Hang on.
ring.
It
Gotta
wasn't
hit a
about
break.
race. It
Gotta
was
hit a
about
break.
peace.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Monday night. 800-956-7266 is the phone number here on Sports Talk. And want to remind you that you can score big with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders has convenient office locations on the campus at USC, a new location coming soon to Clemson, ATMs on the campuses of Clemson, Converse, Limestone, PC, USC Lancaster, Winthrop, and York Tech. Visit foundersfcu.com for a full listing to find an ATM or office near you. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. All right, to the phones we go, and let's go to Glenn in North Charleston next up here on Sports Talk. Glenn, welcome in. How you doing?
How you doing, Mr. Phil?
Hey, we're good.
All right, I hate to be on the same subject on Mr. The boxer, Muhammad Ali, but I feel the same about your point where if somebody drafted you, which is a law, when they send you that letter, and you have to obey the draft. If you don't obey the draft, you're a draft dodger, because if you dodge a draft in any way, then you go up the cannon. Now, there are some ways that if you had a rich parent and went to college, I don't think they could draft you then, but you had to do great college or score a certain percentage, or they wouldn't take you in that respect in that time period.
I mean, is Bill Clinton a draft dodger?
You go ROTC back in those days.
How about Donald Trump? He used the school thing twice, and they got a medical deferment. Is he a draft dodger? I mean, the Vietnam.
No, he's a 4F, I believe, back then.
Okay. So the point is, this is Vietnam, which was as we all know now, as history has proven, it was a catastrophe. It was a very controversial war. Forget all that about it. White people, black people, there was a lot of people that were against that war. But you have to look at the time and the place when this happened in the 60s. And this is a reason why Muhammad Ali is lionized. To me, his impact beyond boxing is what he did for the civil rights movement and what he did when he shut up and he had a voice. This is a black man standing up going, no, I don't believe in this. I'm not going. And the exact quote was, I don't have a problem with the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong had never called me the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing about it is, if I'm in that spot and I'm in this country and I'm not treated the same as everybody else, and they're trying to send me off to a war to be killed, I might say, if I had a voice to say, I could see where a lot of people are like, well, I don't have any choice. I got to go. But he stood up and he didn't run. He didn't tuck his tail. He sat there and he said why he stood by his person. Now, I understand your point, Corn. I understand how you say, look, you go. That's what we do in this country. We have to fight. But you have to at least appreciate his side of that, where he goes, look, I don't think, if you were being discriminated against, okay, because let's say in World War II, they were probably having a draft in Germany, okay, and maybe you didn't feel real good about going and fighting for the SS. Maybe you didn't think that was the right cause. But you know what? The government's drafting you, go.
They had no choice.
Okay.
They had no choice.
Well, neither did he, but he stood up and said, no,
Well, you get shot.
I'm fighting it.
Well, to say that I don't have a fight with the Viet Cong and whatever, they're not shooting at me or calling me names, whatever, to me, that's kind of weak. Because again, I don't believe of the hundreds of thousands of young men and women who draft, and they were loyal to the United States of America because they believed what they're telling them that this was a threat.
Was the government loyal
let
to
me
black
you
people,
asked me not to interrupt you.
All right, but
let
I'm just saying,
finish.
you're glossing over the racial aspect
I'm not.
of this.
It's to me, it's not black and white. Came
It
back. They
is.
were all Americans, and there were look. Not all black people back in the 60s were suffering discrimination. There were a lot of
in this. Okay, I just
you don't. There were no successful black people in the 60s.
I didn't say there were no successful black people.
I just said
success has nothing to do with
if you would let me finish a
it.
sentence, you might hear my complete sentence.
They were discriminated against
instead of
systemically.
exhaling and laughing, trying to belittle my statement. If you would listen to it, I was going to say not every black person in the 60s was discriminated against and was not in a position of poverty. I think they were very successful blacks as there were whites and others back in the 60s.
Success and discrimination are two different things. They're not mutually
but you're not letting me
exclusive.
finish. You know, the draft didn't discriminate. You know, if your number came up, you were chosen. Now, there were some people who were able to avoid it through either means of money or influence or whatever the case may be. You said Muhammad Ali used his bully pulpit. So he used his fame to avoid in sort of the same way, in sort of the same way as
he wasn't drafted because he was black.
Sort of the same way as others got away from it, he did as well. My point is very simple, and I'm not going to back away from it. If you were drafted, you obey the law and you go.
In these 60s,
Okay, got a lot of recruiting we're going to get to because I had a lot of time to do recruiting over the weekend. I actually had an extra 5 hours sitting at Doug Kingsmore Stadium after I got back from Western Sizzling yesterday. I recommend, by the way, this is not a paid endorsement, but the Western Sizzling at Clemson is well worth the visit whenever you go up there. I had ample time to go there yesterday.
And the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A there is good as well. Back to the phones we go, and it's Larry in Matthews, North Carolina. Larry, are you in North Carolina?
Yes.
The old North State. Okay, sir. How are you?
Well, I've been sitting here listening to y'all argue back and forth. You know, we lost a great American, but he wasn't as great as he thought he was. And all weekend, that's all you heard. Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali. You know, today is D-Day, and nobody's mentioned all the people that died.
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, we haven't mentioned it. We talk about Muhammad Ali because he's a sports figure, and we talk about sports, but today is D-Day.
I did mention Jackie Robinson, which kind of goes back to World War II.
And a lot of people, I know on social media and on news outlets, they're spending a lot of time around. It'll be on every channel, Band of Brothers. So I think you can talk about one thing and it doesn't mean you don't care about another. But the Ali thing, and again, it's just a discussion, and we see both sides of it. Obviously, there's two very different takes on it. And
see, my whole thing was I'm like this caller, I think, and he's gone. Mm-hmm. I was bothered by the complete all the coverage that I saw since Friday night. And look, I'm sad as everybody else about the passing of Muhammad Ali.
Sure.
And I'm, was sad for the his Parkinson's and all that because I loved him as a fighter. I loved watching him Saturday afternoons on Wild World of Sports, watching him fight. NBC, when NBC had boxing, they would have the Muhammad Ali fights on prime time. I love that. So, he was fantastic as a fighter. Great athlete. To watch him work out and jump rope the way he did, the speed that he moved with, his ability to use to move his head and dodge. He was beautiful. He was a beautiful athlete, and I love the way that he expressed himself and expressed his confidence in himself.
And you got to admit,
that all said,
he moved the civil rights movement forward. He did.
That all said, as an American, I remain bothered by the fact that he did not serve in the military.
Well, I have one statement.
Simply enough, back in the 60s. Everything else aside, it's my personal opinion about it. Doesn't take away from his greatness as a boxer, as a humanitarian.
But you're upset they're not spending more time talking about that?
Here's the statement I want to make.
I hear nobody bringing it up.
I've
heard nobody bring it up.
Above all government is a higher power. Muhammad Ali was drafted by a higher power to take his role in humanity.
Yeah, I think history has proven him okay in that one. USC, UNC Wilmington, UNCW, 2 o'clock tomorrow.
2 o'clock. Okay. Right.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, and Carson Mason all together here in downtown Columbia. All right, so 2 o'clock tomorrow has now been set for USC and UNCW over at Founders Park. Interesting start time. Don't know if it's related more to weather or TV or what, but that's when it's going to be. That could hurt the crowd. 2 o'clock, middle of the day. It is the work day and all that kind of stuff. If you're Wilmington, you're probably like, yeah, I'd rather do it at 2 o'clock than 7 o'clock.
Be there. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. All right. A couple of other quick notes. Former USC quarterback Dylan Thompson signed with the Rams today. So he gets a shot there. Auburn has agreed to a contract extension with Gus Malzahn through 2020. The extension is, in essence, a 1-year extension. And he gets a pay increase of $250,000 per year up to $4.725 million per year. And Coastal Carolina and NC State still in a delay, as far as we know. Has anybody checked? I'll check since nobody's checked. 7:40. 7:40 now is set as the start time for Coastal Carolina and NC State. I'll give you the meaty, juicy recruiting report for tonight. John in Greenville, you're with us next here on Sports Talk. Good evening.
Hey, listen, am I the only one that remembers that Muhammad Ali said that he was a Muslim and that they didn't believe in war? That's why he didn't go to the army. And he wasn't no more Muslim than Billy Graham, as far as I'm concerned. I think he was scared to go.
I think everybody was scared to go. Who in their right mind wanted to go to Vietnam? You know,
well, that non-Muslim's having a Muslim funeral on Thursday, so
that was a horrible, horrible time, no doubt about it. And you think back at it, you know, you see the video. When I see the videos of, and I admire Vietnam. I admire any military person who has served. I probably admire Vietnam vets more because they truly didn't know what they were fighting for. I mean, you went over there and you were told you were trying to stop the spread of communism through the Southeast Asia and all that, but you couldn't differentiate between the good guys and the bad guys, fighting in those jungles and everything. Tough time. That would have been tough for anybody who went over there. No question about it. Thanks for your phone call. 800-956-7266 is the number. We got to get to recruiting. And we got some other good stuff to come your way as well here on Sports Talk. Going to hear from Monty Lee and Chad Holbrook. Also a little bit from Kurt Busch, who was the winner today at Pocono. He beat Dale Jr. I predict Dale Jr. will not win a race again until he unblocks us.
He needs to unblock us.
Wow.
And Kurt Busch won without blocking him. Unblock us, Dale. Unblock us. Good things will happen to you. We promise. Back in a moment. All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Let me give you the recruiting report tonight. We got a lot of stuff to pass along from a busy weekend. USC coach Will Muschamp, some of his staff spent Sunday at Jones County Junior College in Mississippi camps, and that included players at Jones and high school prospects from the area. USC commitment defensive end Javon Kinlaw, in his first season at Jones, he got a chance to show Muschamp how he has developed. Also working out was defensive back Javian Hamilton. He said it went great. He thinks he impressed them with his abilities. USC has offered Jones defensive back Jonathan Abram, former cornerback at Georgia, who transferred after his freshman season. His younger brother, Aaron Abram, was there. He also got an offer from the Gamecocks. He's an athlete, and USC's his first big offer. Other Jones prospects USC checked out Sunday included linebacker Cannon Gibbs, defensive end Tremont Lofton, and defensive end Marcus Ford. Gibbs said they liked what they saw in him. He said they have a lot of players they're interested in. In his case, he's an inside linebacker. He said they're not taking an inside linebacker from junior college, but they told him they'll keep in touch. He said they're coming in to see Jones play the second game of the season. Lofton also got a favorable feeling, saying they showed a lot of interest. They kept pulling him to the side, talking to him, and having him do drills. Defensive lineman Neil Farrell of Mobile, Alabama, was at USC's camp over the weekend. Said the atmosphere and coaches were great. It was great to be there. He also has offers from Clemson, Auburn, Kentucky, Michigan, LSU, Florida, Mississippi State, and others. He's going to an Alabama camp on Tuesday. Defensive end Trey Lawson of North Augusta said he continues to favor USC at this point, but he's not ready to make a final decision and commitment. He said he is probably going to do it going into his senior season so he can then focus on football and grades. He said he hasn't really been talking to USC much of late, but they're definitely in contact. He says, I have a little more thinking to do. Most recently, he's been hearing a good deal from Tennessee and Florida State. He said he will make another visit to USC this summer. Punter Damani Hammond of Lithonia, Georgia, was at USC specialist camp on Sunday, hoping to impress. He worked out in front of special teams coach Coleman Hutzler, and they told him they liked the power in his leg, and they're going to come watch him this season. He goes to Georgia June 14th. Another punter place kicker prospect, Joseph Gurley of Killen, Alabama, had planned to be at USC Sunday, but a sprained ankle suffered in his spring game 2 weeks ago, forced him to cancel the visit. He tried to kick at Alabama's camp on Friday, but couldn't do it. Hopes to visit USC in July. Athlete Tansy Richardson of South Aiken is shopping for a USC offer. He planned to be at a camp today. He went to USC twice last month for visits. His top offers are Colorado State, Mississippi State, and Southern Miss. Athlete Malcolm Askew of McCalla, Alabama, committed to Clemson, was second on his list. I mentioned athlete Aaron Abram, 5'9", 180, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, got the offer from Muschamp at that camp on Sunday. And he said they liked his footwork, his lateral and vertical quickness. They compared him to Georgia's Isaiah McKenzie. He's also drawing interest from Southern Miss, Mississippi State, Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Monroe, Purdue, and Louisville. 1,069 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns last season. Receiver Justin Marshall of Conyers, Georgia, was at USC's camp Saturday. Liked everything. Enjoyed himself. He said they like him, his size, speed, agility, and his attitude. He's got over 20 offers right now. He's got South Carolina, one of his top schools, along with Louisville and Tennessee. He was also at USC back in April. Linebacker Devon Bowen, 6'2", 214 of Woodmont, was at USC's camp Saturday, and he got an offer from the Gamecocks at the camp. He was very excited about that. USC becomes his biggest offer thus far. Says he's been a big fan of Will Muschamp since his days at Florida, plus he likes Travaris Robinson. He had 14 sacks, 61.5 tackles as a junior. He also has offers from Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri, Marshall, Towson, Appalachian, Georgia Southern, Army, Furman, Charleston Southern, Coastal, Nevada, and others, but the USC offer really stands out. He says he's always loved USC. He also plans on visiting Missouri, Maryland, Wake Forest, Louisville, and some other schools before he makes his decision. You okay, Kim?
Yeah, I'm just stretching.
Do you need a pillow or anything?
I think we need like the 7th inning stretch for your recruiting report sometimes, where somebody sings and.
That's a good idea. Other offers dished out by the Gamecocks Saturday include 2018 linebacker Dax Holyfield of Shelby, North Carolina.
Is that another one of Amanda's kids?
No. 2019 receiver Jacob Pinckney of Dorman, and 2018 defensive back Stephen Gilmore Jr. of South Point, brother of
Stephon.
Correct. Receiver Nico Collins of Pinson, Alabama released a top 7 in no order. No order. Clemson, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Ole Miss. Offensive lineman Andrew Thomas of Atlanta was a top 3 with Georgia ahead of Clemson and Notre Dame. USC and Clemson target defensive end MJ Webb of Madison, Georgia was at Auburn Saturday, Tennessee Friday, and was planning to be at USC today. Defensive back CJ Avery of Grenada, Mississippi, released a top 10 today. Clemson, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Notre Dame, Louisville, Tennessee, Michigan, Auburn, Cal, and Alabama. USC today offered defensive back Damari Mathis of Lakeland, Florida. Basketball, 6'5", 2018 prospect Trey Wirtz of Charlotte camped at Florida Saturday. Looking for a call from the Gators today on a possible offer. Clemson has offered. Former USC guard Marcus Stroman said over the weekend he's not decided where he will continue his career. He has 2 years of eligibility for his next stop. And the recruiting quote of the day comes from athlete Bruce Judson of Florida, who tweeted out, quote, "I don't need 24/7 Rivals or ESPN to describe how I play off a website. You come and see how I get down in person, and it speaks for itself." Here.
Okay.
End quote.
He's knocked down to a 1-star.
That is Corn's favorite player from now on.
Really?
Corn's going to be calling him every day. What do you need? What do you need?
Give me some Bruce Judson. You can follow Bruce, by the way, at 4-way _ Lil Bruce.
4-way _ Little Bruce.
Now, what position will he play at the
That's
next
not underline,
level?
it's underscore.
Well, it's fine.
Whatever.
We all know
What
Hashtag pound symbol. Say what?
What position will he play?
He's an athlete, which means he could play any number of positions.
He can play everywhere.
Defensive
Good
back.
player. Good player. All right, there you go with recruiting. And, of course, you can always check it out on the website, sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at sportstalksc. Back to the phones we go on this Monday night. Bob in Williston, good evening and welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, Phil, just give you an opinion about this Ali situation from a fella draft dodger. 65. I found out my number was going to be up in February, so I decided I was not going to be drafted. I joined the Marine Corps. In other words, I dodged the draft.
I got it.
But I know what I was fighting for over there, and I was fighting for those fellow Marines in that helicopter with me and those Marines on the ground, that I was going to take sea rations and ammo and water and keep them alive, hopefully, and get back to Elko, South Carolina. But as far as Ali's situation, he used his membership, or whatever you call it, of the Nation of Islam as a conscientious objector. And there's any number of things that he could have done to serve his country in that time. And I do not believe that this country would have sent him to Vietnam. Somebody with his stature as a sports icon would have never seen Vietnam. I have plenty of friends that served during that time that never saw Vietnam. They served their country in any number of ways. But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. Well, Elvis was in the military. Did they ever send him over to I don't think so. I think he stayed.
They sent him over to do some stage shows.
Well, I think he stayed stateside and
With
worked in
Bob
offices
Hope.
and things like that. But he was in the military, back there in the 50s. Thanks for the call. Back in a moment. we're back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Hey, whether you are a part of Gamecock Nation, you bleed Clemson Orange, everyone can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location, Russell House, USC's campus. New location on Highway 93 in Clemson coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Coming up, some baseball stuff for you. Now, today at Pocono, it was Kurt Busch winning, Dale Jr. second, Brad Keselowski third. Chase Elliott led the most laps, but did not win. They did finish fourth. Very good showing. Joey Logano was fifth. That's your top five. Kurt Busch had a temporary crew chief today because his regular crew chief, Tony Gibson, was suspended from Pocono for some violations. Here is what Kurt Busch had to say about getting his first win this year, 28th of his career.
It's an amazing feeling when you get to drive into Victory Lane and any track, any weekend, at any time. And it's very special because it makes you think of all the hard work that everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing put into this car. And to be in position, that's what it's all about. And Johnny Klossmeyer called a perfect race to, gamble on the fuel a little bit. But he also, gave me the ball. He's like, hey, we're 2 laps shy. Go get it for us. And so as a driver, we were restarting, I think, 10th at that point. We had to work through some of the guys that stayed out, which I knew we could get those guys because, they were really gambling on fuel. But just overall, a great team effort. It's a lot of work at the shop, but each week we've been in position this year so far. And we haven't quite sealed the deal. And so today we did, and we're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, it was a good race. Good race. Had some real good, close racing in the final 20, 30 laps or so until Busch pulled away, and he won by over a second. There are a number of wrecks in the race. Poor Tony Stewart. Well, of course, Stewart-Haas Racing, they won. Kurt Busch is one of the drivers in their stable. But Tony Stewart wrecked, and he took Danica out with him. And so 2 of their cars went out on the same incident or were damaged on the same incident. Poor Tony Stewart kind of hoping he would get a win. He was running decently, finished 34. Jimmy Johnson had a problem. He hit the inside wall at one point. He finished third. Dale Earnhardt Jr. blamed himself. He said that on a restart, he let was it a restart, I think, or it might have been just an attempted pass. He let Busch get by him. He should have closed the door on him. He said he didn't do it, and he sort of blamed himself. Blocking, Dale, like I told you, it's not your strength. Use your guile and your overall speed, but blocking people on the track and on Twitter, it's not a good fit for you.
I thought we were going to get unblocked. I thought you made
it hasn't
that
happened yet. Hasn't happened.
Dale, I thought Chip was going to help us out.
I figured it out. The day I was talking to him, he was not water cooler Dale. He was race driver. His commercial where he says, I'm team owner Dale, I'm water cooler Dale.
I mean,
I didn't get water cooler
Chip
Dale.
goes out and hangs out with him. He could just take his phone and unblock us when Dale's not looking.
That's a good idea. Back in a moment.
Information. Information. Information.
All right, so 2 o'clock tomorrow, first pitch, USC and UNC Dub at Founders Park. Hopefully the weather will be fine. And this gives the pitching staffs of both teams a little extra time to rep for a better game. Hopefully not something that's in the upper teens both ways. Hopefully baseball game, the best team will win. Now, last night, Clemson saw its season end. Tigers had a great year under Monty Lee, his first, won an ACC tournament championship, national top 8 seed, but ran into a really strong Oklahoma State team that just shut him down with tremendous pitching in 2 outings over the weekend. Here's Monty summing it up after last night's loss.
I want to give Oklahoma State a lot of credit. One of the best ball clubs we've played this year. Their starting pitcher did an outstanding job offensively. They had really, really good approaches against Pat Krall and made every play. Just played a really high level of baseball. Josh Holliday and his coaching staff do an outstanding job, and they deserve a lot of credit. And I'm a Oklahoma State fan now. I hope they make it all the way to Omaha. So, congratulations to their program. It was a tough one today. We couldn't find a way to get anything going early in the game. We had some chances late in the game, and then Oklahoma State did what really good teams do. They threw up a big inning in the 7th when we to extend their lead. And overall, the 2 pitchers that we faced for them, the starting pitchers, did a really good job. They played good defensively, and they just didn't give us a lot of opportunities. But I can't even put into words what it feels like right now. To see all those guys on our team at the end of the game in the outfield and how upset they were that their season has come to an end. I could coach for the rest of my life and may never have a more competitive group of players. It's just an unbelievable group of kids that fought and clawed and scratched and did everything they could to possibly put us in this position. And this is a group of overachievers, and I'm very, very proud of them. The relationships that I've developed here with this team and with this group of players is something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Wins and losses come and go, championships come and go, but at the end of the day, it's about the relationships that you develop with your players. That's why I got into coaching to begin with, is to develop relationships and try to make a difference in kids' lives. And boy, did they make a difference in my life. This team, I just can't say enough about their heart, their dedication to this program, to this school, and fun. And I'm obviously disappointed that it came to an end, but I couldn't be prouder of a group of kids. So it's definitely a group that I'll always remember and be very, very proud of.
Monty, collectively, last night, tonight against Oklahoma State, can you put your finger on what the difference was?
Well, both of their starting pitchers, they did an excellent job of keeping the ball down and out of the middle of the play, executing pitches. We haven't seen a team that has done a better job of making big pitches when they needed to. Both of their guys, when they needed to make a 3-2 count, our team has made a living this year off of winning the 3-2 count offensively. If a pitcher threw the ball off the plate, we've done a good job of laying off that pitch and taking our walk. But they did an outstanding job of executing 3-2 count pitches, getting leadoff outs. Defensively, they were really, really good. They didn't give us a lot of opportunities. They're just a team that you have to beat because they're not going to beat themselves because of their pitching staff and their defense. And offensively, the top half of their order, did some damage. Just overall, they were the better team, and you have to give them a lot of credit. They're one of the best teams that I've seen this year for sure. So got to give them credit.
Okay, Monty Lee and the Tigers, they will be back. May have to replace some very good players, of course, beginning with Chris Oakey, who stands to be, I think, drafted pretty high this week in the draft. And, of course, Pat Krall is going to be drafted early. Going to lose some good players, but the hope is, and one of the reasons he was hired and Jack was forced out and Bonnie was brought in, was new energy in recruiting and bringing in fresh young talent into the program. So we'll see how it goes moving forward with the Tigers from there, but a very good season for Clemson. Now, USC still has some season left, at least one more game. And they're hoping at least, 3 more games, because 1 win tomorrow and 2 wins in the Super, you're on your way to Omaha. Could take 3 games to get to Omaha. After you win tomorrow night, it may take 3 games against Oklahoma State, but that's putting the cart before the horse. Gamecocks had to win 2 yesterday. K-Mac, you were there through the whole ordeal. They just slaughtered Rhode Island, turned that into a laugher, and then got great pitching in Game 2 against Unk Dub to get to tomorrow.
Yeah, they had a 7% chance to advance out of this regional. Those chances have gone up exponentially right now, but Chad Holbrook pushed all the right buttons on Sunday.
Obviously, a great day for our team. We played some great baseball for 18 innings today against some good dang players and good teams. And as far as the second game today, Tyler Johnson was that's going to go down in Gamecock lore as far as performances. That kind of reminded me of 2010 when we had some reliever that hadn't started a game named Roth, and we put him in there in Omaha, and he threw a complete game. But Tyler worked extremely hard, and I think he went into the outing today thinking he's going to try to get 3 or 4 for us and get us off to a good start. And I think the big old boy got loose, about the 4th or 5th, and he worked extremely hard in the weight room, put on a lot of weight, and that hard work enabled him to keep getting better as the game went on against a great hitting team. And an incredible performance because those guys can really, really hit and swing it. And heck, they got more home runs than most teams have doubles. So you hold your breath every hitter that walks in there. For him to do that against them, extremely impressive. We had a lot of guys step up. Obviously DC had a great day. After Jonah got thrown out and played well again in the nightcap, and Gene got that big hit there that cleared the bases that started that 5-run second that kind of got the momentum in our dugout. So it's a great day for us. We played great, but like I told the team, we got to nobody's awarded us anything other than 2 games today. So we got to try to focus and get ready for tomorrow's game and play our best baseball tomorrow night. And that'll certainly be a challenge.
Chad, a couple of questions. Who do you look at to pitch tomorrow? Could Webb come back? Maybe Schmidt, one of the guys from reliever. And second, with DC doing as well as he had, even if you get Jonah back, do you look at maybe one or the other or both in the lineup?
Well, LT played great as well. And that was one of the neat things about our team is we do have some depth in the infield, and I thought LT was terrific, obviously, in the first game, and they all played great. But I'll just go with the gut feel tomorrow and put the guys I think out there, give us the best chance to win that day. And the plan probably won't be much different than it was going into today. DC is going to be a big part of things, and he can help us win the game, obviously, whether he's starting or whether he's not, and so can LT. Who's pitching? I don't know. A bunch of guys probably tomorrow. And going to try to piece it together as best we can. We'll see how Webb feels tomorrow when he gets to the park, and Schmidt and Reagan and Widener and Reed Scott. We'll have some guys that can throw. And, maybe all of them can chip in and between 5 or 6 guys get 9 innings out of them.
Okay, Chad Holbrook, following the Gamecocks' second win of the day yesterday. So came back from observing. What do you think will happen pitching-wise? Where do you think he'll go?
Well, the extra day gives him a little more time, but I still think it'll be Braden Webb. He didn't throw a ton of pitches if he's healthy. They see what they can get out of him. That Reagan would be available for a few. Widener is certainly a guy that has some innings. And now Clark Schmidt, he didn't get out of the 4th inning on Friday. I think he has pretty much everybody not named Tyler Johnson at his disposal.
Okay, we'll be right back here on Sports Talk. And back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, the professor, Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary together here on this Monday night. USC has offered, finally, for his sake, Tansy Richardson. Now, you like it for a kid that doesn't give up. You know, a couple of times he went over to USC, and they came and saw him in the spring, didn't offer. He went to camp today, apparently showed out, and he got an offer from South Carolina. Tansy Richardson, the athlete from South Aiken. No commitment yet. He's got some other good offers, pondering about things, et cetera, but he's just happy to get that offer from USC, and that's a good lesson for you youngsters out there who listen every night to Sports Talk. Give it your best shot. Don't ever give up, and don't ever say you can't get something done. What, K-Mac?
I'm just
I'm not
listening to your
copying
sage
Jim
advice.
Valvano. I'm not copying Jim Valvano. I'm not trying to give
That's
don't
good.
ever. I'm just saying, give it your best shot. Don't be discouraged. Keep trying. Keep working, and good things will come your way. Let's see. What did I want to mention to you here? Oh, they're underway. Coastal and North Carolina State, and Coastal is out to the 2-0 lead in Raleigh. Winner advances to play the winner of the LSU regional. Paez homered to right field, 2-run homer for the outstanding Chanticleer player, and it's 2-0. The Chanticleers are using their standout freshman pitcher, Jason Billis, who was the winner in the Big South Championship game, pitched extremely well. They think they have a steal in this young man. He sat out all of last year with Tommy John. He was very highly regarded, and now he's going to get his chance. He's pitching the biggest game of his life tonight. And, boy, I tell you what, if Coastal can get to a short series like that with their pitching, with their closer and their starters, I mean, you got to like their chances.
Well, that's one of the reasons I picked the trifecta when we were talking about Clemson and South Carolina. I said, well, why not all three? And I thought they had a good chance to win this regional. It's going to be tough in Raleigh. We know that with NC State. You just have to make sure they don't get in one of those rallies, because teams like NC State, when they're at home, they'll put a big crew in that first inning, and it'll be all she wrote. So, but, getting that lead is for Coastal early. That's big. That's key, because if they can keep it going, that kind of noose starts to tighten up in the Wolfpack's throat. As many innings go by and they have that lead.
Santa Barbara beat Xavier, so Santa Barbara advances 14-5. Texas Tech beats Dallas Baptist 5-3, so they advance. Rice beats Southeastern Louisiana 15-0, and now will play LSU tonight at 8:45. That's a 1-2 matchup. Arizona beat Louisiana Lafayette 6-3. They play again at 8 o'clock tonight. So I think we're now up to date on everything there. Back to the phones we go, and it's Jim in Moonville. Hello, Jim. How are you?
How you doing, Mr. Corn?
Doing great, sir. How are you?
Well, can I help you out a little bit on this Muhammad Ali thing?
Well, if I need some help, go ahead.
You need a lot of help.
Okay.
All right. Since the Korean War, you could probably count on one hand the number of professional athletes that were ever drafted or were even called for the draft. Did you not realize that?
I don't know. I've read since the Korean War. I've read stories, a lot of stories about professional athletes leaving their teams to go serve in the military. But you're just saying since the Korean War.
They weren't drafted. They voluntarily went.
Where? In the Korean War?
No. They voluntarily went in service. They weren't drafted since the Korean War. There were none that were drafted.
No professional athletes have been drafted since the Korean War.
Right. Before the Korean War, during and before the Korean War, that was true. They were.
I take you at your word. I don't know about that.
The second thing, Muhammad Ali realistically probably should have never been drafted, because he wasn't a 1A. He was a 1Y.
Which is what?
He wasn't smart enough to get in.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing was he was also married. And in general, they didn't draft people that were married.
And
the third thing was that he was almost too old to be drafted, because at 28, during those days at 28, you wouldn't be drafted, and he was around 26 when this occurred. But I think that the problem that happened was that he had came out and said some things against the war was the reason that they went after him.
I don't know. I don't know the history. I'd have to look it up. That doesn't sound right age-wise. He didn't look like a 26-year-old man. He was 26 when he was drafted?
About 25, actually. Going on 26.
But he would, and somebody pointed out on our Twitter feed, the fact that he wouldn't have probably seen combat and still fought it shows you that he was doing it out of a principle thing, not out of a fear of fighting, because he wasn't going to have to fight.
Back in a moment.
About to enter the center of the maelstrom.
All right, good start at the plate and on the mound for Coastal Carolina. Chanticleer scored 2 in the first on a 2-run homer by Paez. Bottom of the inning, Billis set him down in order. A pop-up, a fly out, and a ground out. And now leading off the second, the Chants have a base hit. So they got a runner on first base. They lead 2-0, and a good start for Coastal. Now, looking at what's already been determined, we know Florida State and Florida are going to play in a super regional. Louisville and UC Santa Barbara going to play in a super regional. Oklahoma State is waiting on either South Carolina or UNC-Dub. You like that name for him, UNC-Dub?
Sure.
Yeah? I like it too. What do you think, Carson? Does that work for you, UNC-Dub?
Yeah, it's great.
Texas Tech and East Carolina are going to play in a super. How about East Carolina coming out of that Virginia regional?
Yes.
Mississippi State is waiting on Arizona and Lafayette tonight. Mississippi State is in and waiting. Miami and Boston College. How in the world did Boston College win a regional? They must play good defense like their football team. Football team didn't win. Let's see, their football team and their men's basketball team combined did not win an ACC game in their team. And for your hard work, BC, you get to go to Miami to get your brains beat in. And TCU and Texas A&M will meet in a super. So those are all done. So we're just waiting on the South Carolina regional to get done, the Baton Rouge regional to finish up, and the Lafayette regional to finish up, and that Raleigh regional to finish up. Hopefully everything will be done by tomorrow and we can move on. I wonder if with South Carolina playing and Wilmington playing tomorrow, if that will push back the start of the Super to Saturday instead of Friday and go Saturday, Sunday, and Monday with the Super.
I would think so. And if it rains tomorrow,
I think the forecast is a little better for tomorrow, isn't it, K-Mac?
Hopefully.
It's supposed to be better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, it can't be any worse.
No,
it
it
rained
can't, yeah.
all day.
If I say if it rains tomorrow,
Animals
they
are
can
lining up by twos.
If it rains tomorrow, they can put Will Crow on the mount on Wednesday.
Let's see. A couple of things on Twitter here. Brad, let's see, at Brad Marchant asking Dale Jr. to please unblock us. They're good guys. Thank you.
Yeah, not going to happen.
3 Dingo, Phil, that guy that was going to beat K-Mac up is available if you want to replace K-Mac with someone who will not talk over you. Did somebody threaten to beat you up?
Threatened to beat me up, threatened to kill me. I can't even keep up anymore. I may or may not be alive this time tomorrow. But this regional going 7 games.
Eric Boynton at the Spartanburg Herald Journal listening in says that Ali likely knew he probably wouldn't have been sent into battle due to his stature, makes his stance all the more heroic. Jeff Hartzell, our buddy in Charleston, Post and Courier listening in, says Ali took a stand. Sons of rich middle class who didn't want to go just took deferments. 15.4 million of them. We got a lot of smart people listening to us tonight. And we thank you for listening and writing in and tweeting in and all that. Look forward to the baseball game tomorrow. We'll have it covered for you right here. We'll see you then.